Alright, y'all, welcome back to the Alphaberry Show. So, today we're going to do some war gaming. Right now we have two different major wars going on. The first one is the Ukraine war, Ukraine versus Russia, and the second one is Iran versus the US. Both of these two are regional wars right now, including one of them, well, both of these wars actually, you can argue that both of these wars involve the global superpower and the second major power of the world in Russia. And one can even argue Russia could be the real global superpower in these wars, because the war between Ukraine and Russia isn't between Ukraine and Russia. The war is between NATO and Russia. And Russia is whooping their ass right now. NATO is getting their ass whooped in Ukraine. They've been getting their ass whooped for the past 4 or 5 years. It's an ongoing ass whooping time. That's what it is. Now, obviously, the mainstream media is going to market it as Ukraine, this underdog that's putting up a fight. That's far from the truth. The truth is, it's NATO soldiers, it's NATO weaponry, it's NATO training, it's NATO equipment, it's NATO funding, and NATO intelligence, NATO war machines, NATO strategy, and NATO tactics that are in Ukraine and fighting against Russia. And they're losing. They've been losing for the past 4 to 5 years. 4 to 5 years. And they're going to keep losing. I don't see a universe where Russia loses this war unless Putin is assassinated. Now, everyone expected that this war, this Russia-Ukraine war, was going to end within at least 1 or 2 years. No one expected it to last more than 2 years. And here it is 4 or 5 years in. The same thing could be true with the Iran and US-Israeli war. More likely, the US-Israeli aggression on Iran war. Everyone is expecting it to last possibly no later than the end of this year. But with Trump's ego the size of a mountain, and Iran really defending themselves, this war can go from everyone thinking it's gonna last 2 weeks to a few months. This war could go on for the rest of Trump's presidency, and it could carry over into the next presidency. This could be America's modern Vietnam War. This is America's Ukraine war. So we've already established that right now there's two major regional wars going on. Everyone's always talking about, oh, this is going to be World War III. But right now, as it stands, there's only 2 ways that this could become a world war. There's only 2 ways. Now, mind you, both wars are connected. The US and Ukraine, it's really US and Ukraine versus Iran versus Russia. When Ukraine is fighting Russia, Ukraine is being supplied by America. And Russia has been supplied by Iran. So it's really still the 2 camps that are fighting each other. And there's only 2 major camps in this world anyway. You're either allied with America or you're not. And so, like I said before, there's 2 ways this can become a global war. The first one is if China publicly supports Iran in such a way that leaves no room for confusion. It leaves no room for diplomacy. If China starts supplying Iran the way America and NATO is supplying Ukraine, then it becomes a world war. Why? Because now, if China is so damn bold and public about it, Europe and all of the US allies are going to be so damn bold and public about it. And eventually, now we're really in a world war because the entire planet's resources are being directed towards this war. And it's only going to grow, and it's going to extend to other countries. There's a second way this can turn into a World War III that everyone is fantasizing about. If Europe openly supports Trump and the US in this war, what it means is, what that would mean, now obviously Europe is already doing that, but NATO itself is not militarily united on supporting the US in this war. But if NATO was to join America in this war, then it becomes a world war because the entire West would be bearing down their firepower on Iran. And when they do, the entire East that's supportive of Iran, which again, it's from North Korea to China, Russia, and their allies, which are all smaller countries, of course. They're all going to unite their resources in militarily supporting Iran. At that point, it becomes World War III, because both East and West, they're all allocating all of their defense budget, all of their military funds, equipment, and intelligence towards this war between East and West. That's what it would come down to at that point. Will this happen? It's already happening, but it's more low-key right now. NATO in unity is not openly supporting Trump. And the reason why, because Trump is an asshole. He's always been an asshole to NATO. You know, like first he goes into this war without telling the GCC or NATO about it. And now he's asking for help. Trump is asking other countries for help after spending years making fun of them and threatening Europe and the GCC. Well, actually, I'm going to take that back with the GCC because, you know, now, if you don't know what the GCC is, that's the Arabs. Those are the UAE, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Oman, and I think there's probably another country too. They form a GCC, and they're like a form of NATO in the Middle East, and their only purpose is to serve American interests, which is, again, to encircle, surround, and destroy Iran. That's their only purpose.